Very much, guys. That was an absolutely phenomenal game to kick off day 2 here in Singapore. And Alliance, they did show up. It was Shield's first real test. I want to go straight to picks and bans. Talk about the team comps because we saw Irelia, we saw Twisted Fate, Mid Lulu. Monty, what's your take?
I mean, this was a little wacky, especially from Shield, but I think Alliance had the right idea. Put Froggen on a playmaking champion, Wicked on, his bread and butter pick on Irelia. This is the right direction for Alliance to move in. And as we heard in the interview, we were a little confused about why the Mid Lulu was coming up against, I guess they thought it was the Mid Zillion.
Yeah, they thought
very
it was a counter pick. I don't know.
Really weird. Also, the top Riven, not something that Save is known for. This is only his second professional game, and he lost his first one on Riven. But just looking at the draft right away, of course, the early draft, Lee Sin, then Thresh and Tristana. But we know Goong has Ori. And if you want to, if they haven't picked their mid laner yet, why not just take the Ori instead of the Lulu? And then, of course, the Riven pick, just a little bit odd as well, into the Irelia. We saw that that was not a very preferable matchup for Safe. Had a bit of trouble in the lane swap. But overall, I think a very weak draft from NaJin White Shield. And a pretty strong one from Alliance.
I think White Shield also got lucky that they got the lane swap off. If Alliance... This lane swap was actually so obvious in the sense that I don't think Tristana can ever survive a lane against Lucian Zillion, that if Alliance just called the lane swap, this game could have gone really brutal.
Yeah, I agree.
Talking about the early game, we do have a bunch of replays lined up, so let's get straight to the first one. It felt like Alliance had pretty good control of the early laning phase. They seemed to make positive moves. Probably talk me through this replay, and then we can discuss some of the early game antics.
So this is right after a small skirmish mid, so they know Watch doesn't have flash. And Froggen takes advantage of this because he sees Thresh hook down, and they go all in, and they take out the Lee Sin. And at this point, they have a stronger 3v3 and a stronger 3v2 even. And right now, they just have to kind of focus whoever Froggen's wildcard goes on.
And, one of the things I said earlier when we were coming into this group, Shield is the team that I'm most unsure of, that they are the ones that are most likely out of all the Korean teams to get upset. And a lot of it was, can Watch keep up his performance that we saw in the regionals? He went 0-3-0 early in this game. Just terrible decision-making. Didn't have the knowledge of where Shook was in order to try and make the plays he was trying to make.
And that play just went sour because Zillion showed up all of a sudden. But if your support's already mid, you should be thinking, where is their support going to be? If he's not on the map, he's coming for you. And they completely turned it around. They were far too much overextended at the tower there.
I feel like Alliance, a lot of the win was on the shoulders of Tabs and Nif, because once you have a strong TF, the TF's job is essentially to get your AD strong so you guys can rotate around the map, take towers, take objective, and take vision with the support. But Tabs and Nif, even with a winning top laner, Wicked was smashing top, even with a winning mid laner, Froggen was 2-0. They didn't really do anything.
Let's talk a little bit about the next replay as we keep rolling onto the points. Let's pull the second one up. This was actually Froggen, and he was pushing bottom lane with Wicked if you look at the mini-map. And up in the top, this ends up being quite a dramatic fight. Double F, start this one off, and then everyone can chime in as the clip rolls out.
So this is just classic, really. He lands a hook on Tabs. He's been landing hooks the entire game, and Zeppa makes a crucial mistake right here. He overcommits on this when they don't really need to. All he needs to do is hit the champions in front of him. That was a two-man play, and he takes so much damage right here that they actually... yeah, he gets exhausted. He has to flash out. He's at 30% HP. None of that was necessary. He could have been attacking this entire time from the safety of behind Watch and behind Gorilla. But in the end, it's just this really clutch move that saves them from getting triple kill here by Tabs. Watch ends up escaping with barely his life.
Close game.
I just want to talk about briefly the build from Tabs, because I feel like he's going to get a lot of flack. But actually, this early Bloodthirster Lucian build is something that NaJin White Shield did in regionals to great success. The intent of Bloodthirster first into Sheen Trinity Force is to take towers. And the problem was that they didn't take towers. There is no reason that that mid tower should have stayed up as long as it should have. Tabs needed to get his butt into the mid lane, because when you have that with the Zillion, basically, you can speed up the Lucian. He has the shield. He'll use an ability. He'll proc the Sheen onto the tower, and you can just take tower shots to the face with the Bloodthirster shield. You have to snowball it off of tower pushes in the mid game, and instead he just sat in bottom lane.
On the topic of builds, I just want to look at Nif as well right now. He spent 800 gold at upgrading his Sightstone. He spent about 1,300 gold going from... or even more, he spent like 1,800 gold going from tier 1 GP10 item to the full upgraded item. That gold could have been spent on mana regen. Zillion is a champion that excels once he gets mana regen. Get tier or showers or both, drop the Moby boots and get a CDR boots, and your E basically speeds you up and gives you the Moby boots anyways in your kit. Your rewinds come up quicker, you get more chrono shifts if you use them properly, and you need to make KLs against the Thresh, and then once after you don't have to make KLs, he went for an Aegis against the team comp with Riven top lane, a Fed Tristana, and a Lulu that was barely doing any magic damage in these fights. It's just a crucial build and play error by Nif. I think he must have been nervous or just not comfortable in playing Zilean.
Yeah, I mean, just you guys are right. We're giving Alliance's bottom lane a lot of flack because really they did play really poorly. I think Tabs and Nif had very little game impact and were irrelevant despite the fact, like, once again, Wicked is so strong. He's ahead top lane. He's ahead of Save. Froggen is so ahead mid lane, but they just don't do anything. But I will say, Gorilla played out of his mind. A lot of these plays, the game-winning plays, the ones that turned around, gave NaJin White Shield's avenues to get back into the game, like Dragon getting towers. It was all Gorilla that kind of just hit those magic hooks, and I think that's why Thresh is such a high-priority champion.
I want to keep rolling this one on. We do have a team fight that I think really just completely sealed the deal for NaJin Shield. It is the mid lane team fight where Zephyr's kind of hanging out on the side lane. So Crepo start this one off, and I know Probably wants to chime in a little later. Let's roll this clip out and talk me through what Shield did right.
I mean, Shield is just disengaged right now, and then they're just waiting for a turn potential. Look at the Riven on the top. They're looking for flanks. They know they need that. Zephyr's trying to distract them. Tabs, he buys into that because he'll dodge left while Wicked's actually going forward. So Alliance is actually splitting themselves up when they don't need to. And the worst part is that the Chrono Shift's already on Tabs, who's now out of the fight. Froggen's all the way on the left in a Zhonya's. No Chrono Shift. He's gonna die. Wicked will die after him. He has a GA. Ideally in these fights, what you want to happen is you want Wicked to go in with the Zilean speed up. You want Wicked to drop, get his GA out. Then the next target that dies gets Chrono Shifted, and you basically fight a 5 against 7. And you could do that because White Shield was split, but Alliance just didn't exploit their opportunities.
What actually happened in the fight was, yeah, Shield was split, and when Alliance was going in, because that's what you want to do when you're playing TF. He's not the best team fighter, but he's the best when the enemy team's split up. So they get the fact that Shield is split, but the second they start going in, Tabs goes off for Trist, and then by that time, Riven was able to flank behind, and then it turned into Shield crushing in on them. Instead of them fighting a split fight, they're actually just getting flanked on.
Yeah.
Yep.
One last little stat about the vision for both of these squads. It's something that we were looking at. It felt like Shield just had a ridiculous amount of wards. So let's take a look at those numbers. 152 wards were placed for Shield. They managed to sweep out and kill 48. Alliance were 128 wards placed, but they did kill 41. So I'm a little bit surprised by how many wards they killed. But being, 25 wards down in the same period of game, that is a lot of missed vision. And it's in reply because Shield got their wards down first.
Yeah, that's actually less than I thought, just because the Baron vision for NaJin Shield was just so much better, right? And I think that, yes, Alliance did buy a lot of wards, but in the late game, they were not in the right place. You just saw the blue blanket all on the top side of Alliance's jungle. And, you know, I feel like Alliance, they had the picks, they had that early game advantage, they played so well in the early game, but they just misplayed their vision, they misplayed their item builds and their power spikes, and that's what caused them to fall behind. Again, I mean, with the builds we saw were good when used properly. The way that AD carry build was used was awful.
Yeah, unfortunately, not working out for Alliance. Guys, thank you so much for the input. We do have to take a brief break, and when we return, Samsung Blue